All right, so the Supreme Court is poised to make a major decision that could set limits on the powers of district judges. This comes after 3 federal judges issued separate nationwide injunctions blocking an executive order by President Trump to end birthright citizenship. Here to discuss is constitutional lawyer, attorney, and former federal prosecutor Katie Cherkasky. I think this needed to happen. I mean, when you're looking at some of the numbers right here, when it comes to these national injunctions, you got 12 in Obama's total 2 terms. You got 64 just along in Trump's first term, Biden 14 overall, and then we're already reaching, as of March 27th, 17 in this second term of Donald Trump. What do you think the courts are going to do?
I think it's very important that the Supreme Court look at these nationwide injunctions that these district courts have been issuing, because essentially what these courts are doing is they're exceeding their authority. A court can typically only issue orders and bind the parties that are before it unless you have some exceptions like class action lawsuits that are properly brought before the court. So inevitably, I think the Supreme Court will have to recognize that this is far exceeding the judiciary's authority, much like a lot of what's been going on recently. So the Supreme Court is the arbiter of that. These district court judges, until they get an order from the Supreme Court, they'll continue to do that in some of these cases. I
do like that the Supreme Court is hearing some of these cases, just because I feel like they need legal debate, especially when you're talking about things like the Aliens in the Act, as well as when it comes to the due process clause of the Constitution. But this birthright citizenship, this is a legal debate that is needed to happen for a long time. No one has, been risky enough to put it out there. But there is some legal precedent to say this is for former slaves. So why are we having people that come into the country illegally get the same rights?
That's exactly right. It's very interesting, and I think President Trump and the administration are very brave to bring this forward, because there's been an assumption from the late 1800s that essentially this 14th Amendment section meant that anyone born here, even to parents that are not here lawfully whatsoever, are citizens. But the case that they rely upon from 1898 actually dealt with lawful permanent residents and their child. So there's never been a specific determination about the status of children of illegal immigrants who are here not lawfully, like that case in the 1800s.
Such a good point. The former, suspected MS-13 member that is now in El Salvador has sparked a little bit of debate. President Trump was asked about him yesterday. Let's watch.
Will you take steps to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States and put him in front of a judge?
I'm going to respond by saying you'll have to speak to the lawyers, the DOJ. But I will say this, we were inundated by millions of people, many millions of people during the Biden administration. And I was elected to get rid of those criminals, to get them out of our country, or to put them away, but to get them out of our country. And I don't see how judges can take that authority away from a president.
And of course, you got Senator Chris Van Hollen saying this. I said my main goal of this trip was to meet Kilmar tonight. I had the chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. I look forward to providing a full update upon my return. I mean, there's a lot of information that has come out since then. You got the 2 immigration judges that essentially verified, yeah, it looks like the evidence suggests that he's a part of MS-13. You got 2 domestic violence cases that show that he beat the hell out of his wife at the time. And then you got the 3rd portion from Tennessee that he was trafficking people across the border.
I think this is a very unusual and unsympathetic folk hero. And essentially the idea that the left is clinging to the fact that the Trump administration said he shouldn't have been deported to El Salvador, whether that is the case or not, is open for debate. But at the end of the day, any actions that the courts are trying to impose on President Trump at this point are far intruding into the Article 2 powers. They cannot force any sort of negotiation, any sort of foreign relations with El Salvador. That is where this man is now located. And ultimately, that's why even the Fourth Circuit tries to get around the idea that the courts have to be respected, but they don't explain how that would not intrude on those powers, because the reality is that it absolutely would. And they can't force the president or the administration to do anything to engage in foreign powers in one way or the other.
I guess the fascinating thing for me, Katie, is, okay, you could say he was deported to the wrong location, but you can't deny what the courts have said when he has a final deportation order. And you got these domestic violence cases as well. He's gonna be in custody somewhere in another country or Guantanamo. I just don't understand dying on this hill. It's not going to be like he's going to be reunited with his family, right?
No, absolutely not. And yes, to be clear, he was deemed deportable. He had many layers of due process up to that point, and then there was this withholding order that said he couldn't be sent to El Salvador. At this point, though, he is deemed to be a member of MS-13. The administration has declared that organization a foreign terrorist organization, so whether he's even eligible for a withholding order is up for debate as well. But at the end of the day, the courts cannot redress many things that happen in the executive branch that are even errors or failures, such as when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan.
That's right.
Americans died. Those people don't have recourse in the courts.
Huh?
People that died in Benghazi, they blame Hillary Clinton and the State Department. They don't have recourse in the courts. And those are tragic errors that occurred. Sometimes those are just not something the courts can address.
Roger that. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Great analysis.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.